Hello, everyone. I really feel very privileged and honored to be here today in Portugal, the home country of the greatest navigators, Vasco da Gama, Magellan. They used some special tools and they mastered the sea navigations. They used astrolabe, quadrant, and many other techniques that existed at their time. Today, I'm going to talk about navigation, but through the blue skies. Do you recognize this dashboard, website, mobile app? Anyone is using FlightRadar24? Yes, I see some. I'm happy to see that. And you know, it's our main value proposition. We offer live, real-time air traffic tracking. Our main proposition is that we offer the holistic picture of everything that is happening in the aerospace. And I see many of you are using that. It became everyday life. Oh, let's check on my mobile app if my friend is flying, right? 40 years ago, it wasn't possible. Many pilots were longing to have such a dashboard with a holistic overview about everything that is happening in the airspace. But it wasn't possible. Do you know why? Let's recall how ATC, air traffic control, works, and some basic information and knowledge from physics that you learned once upon a time about the radar. So how the ATC worked? You send a signal, you want to interrogate to see if some object is in the space, right? So when the signal hits a physical obstacle, it returns back the signal, and then you know there is something there. So the traditional way how the ATC works, it interrogated aircrafts, and then when they send back a message, they send back a message about the position and some basic information about themselves. But there are several challenges with such a communication. First, it's centralized. It requires orchestration, right, from the ATC. So it's not the most efficient one. Then planes maybe don't have the most precise information about their position. And the third one, it can result in a business loss. Why? Because of the interference, you're not sure which aircraft here responded, and then it constrained that you can't allow many planes traveling at exactly the same time, because you know in aviation, safety first is the main rule. But with the introduction of the GPS system, new possibilities were opened. So there are many smart people who wanted to help pilots in order to get this holistic overview about everything that is happening in the airspace. So they came up with something that is called ADSB, Automatic Surveillance Broadcast Message. What does it mean that is broadcast? The main principle is the following. Each airplane, each pilot get GPS positions and can communicate to other pilots. Here, I'm here, broadcast message. No one needs to interrogate and ask him about the position. Right. So that signals goes to the other pilots and other planes. It goes back to the ATC. It goes back to the satellites, which amplifies the signal. So it's a broadcast message. So today, when we talk about aviation data, we are talking, in fact, about the ADCB messages. It's a signal that is emitted always on the same frequency, 1090 megahertz. And it has a hexadecimal format. It contains GPS position, of course. Then it contains call sign that is unique identifier for each flight. And it's not the same as a flight number. You will see later on. Some basic information about that flight, like airspeed and etc., and also weather information, because weather conditions are very important for pilots, right? And all airspace operators, or all aircrafts, helicopters, gliders, military planes, private jets, even balloons, needs to emit that ADS-B signal. It's a worldwide convention, because you remember, safety first. And they emit that by using a hardware device, ADS-B transponder, that is attached to the certain aircraft. I can reveal you one secret. It's beautiful to work with the aviation data. Before FlightRadar, I worked in the fintech industry, I worked in the gaming industry, and most of the time I spent on changing, adjusting my software to the changes in the data format. In aviation, data format of the ADS-B messages does not change. Maybe every 10 years, because the changes in the format would require changes in this hardware device attached at the aircraft. Also, the second beauty is it's a public signal worldwide. You don't need any compliance or legal or data anonymization in order to collect that. But how you can collect all those ADS-B signals that are also here in the air? You need to have a corresponding hardware device that is called the ADS-B receiver. And we in FlightRadar have 40,000 of such receivers distributed all over the world. Okay, is it now an easy job? You just listen to the certain frequency and collect those signals. No, the data architecture beneath, underlying data architecture is much more complex. Let's see, starting from the first layer, data acquisition. So by using our receivers, we are collecting ADS-B signals which contain GPS positions. But there are also certain planes which are emitting non-positional data. So we need to apply something that is called the EMAT algorithm to decide where is the exact position of the aircraft. Now thinking about Vasco da Gama, who used dead rocking methods in order to decide the position, now we have a multilateral time difference of arrival. Of course, it can happen interference with the signals, it's a radio signal. It can occur spoofing of data, that someone is agenting the wrong positions. Why would anyone do that nowadays? What do you think? Unfortunately, there are people who are doing that. So it requires a lot of data processing in order to decide one source of truth and decide which signals are correct ones. Since we are collecting only positional data, we don't know anything about that flight. We don't know the flight number, we don't know the origin, destination. So that's why we need to enrich the information from many different sources in order to complete and have the holistic picture about that flight. Even getting data from satellites, because when an aircraft is flying over the big seas, we don't have enough ground for our receivers. If Vasco da Gama lived nowadays, maybe he would have helped us with some groundbreaking solution how we can collect those signals. But today, we complete that with the satellite data. And then we are doing a very advanced data processing. We need to collect all those collecting the data, enrich the data, and decide one source of truth. And then, voila, we can build such a website or mobile app with holistic picture and all flying objects, or more professionally said, airspace operators. And if you click on the particular plane, you will get here description about many details about that plane, because we enrich the information, right? We are also doing some very advanced data processing. I will just touch upon some of them. For example, take-off events and landing events. It's we who need to detect them. No one is calling us and saying, hello, flight radar, now this plane is going to land. We need to detect it. How? By analyzing the positional data, the altitude, and the changes in those positions, and when the plane is, for example, starting to turning off in order to land. So we are doing a lot of advanced things. And please bear in mind, all those data processing, acquisition, enrichment, it applies on very big data volumes. We have 4 million daily users, 250,000 flights per day that we are following, which results in 70 million flights per year. Okay, now it was a description about a technical solution underlying data architecture. But how do we create a value and earn some money on our solution? Let's see some parts of our business model. Now, I'm not going to analyze all domains of this Osterwalder business model canvas. But let's dig into our customers and the revenue streams. Where do they come from? We have 2 main revenue streams coming from B2C and B2B customers. Let's take a look at the B2C customers. Who are those? Private persons, as you are, which are tracking their family members, friends, or their own flights, right? Then pilots and all people who work in aviation, they're using FlightRadar app. Do you know why? Because we are the only one who are offering that holistic picture about everything that is happening in the airspace. From their airline, for example, TAP Portuguese's airline, they're receiving information only about the flights from the same airline, but not from the other airlines. And it's very beneficial for the pilots because then they can plan landing, takeoffs, and many other things, also training pilots and etc. Of course, we have a lot of aviation enthusiasts called aviation geeks who like to follow different flights and flying patterns. Then we have feeders or data sharers, people who are hosting our FlightRadar receivers. And we are very thankful to them because thanks to them, we can collect all those big amount of the positional data, ADS-B messages. And then we have plane spotters. Now it's very trendy to monitor, to observe some planes and flights. So there are a lot of people who are doing plane spotting. And for them, we develop one special feature. We call that augmented reality feature. So if you see some plane in the sky, you don't know anything about the plane, you take your mobile, turn your camera towards that part of the sky, and then it will show all planes that are in that part of the sky. And then you can identify the flights. Very nice feature, right? Many children love to use that. But this feature saved many lives. Do you know how? Imagine a non-developed country. Imagine a country where signaling for evacuation does not work very well. Imagine some people living in that country, on the countryside, in a deep forest, where there are risks for fires in the forests. Because signaling is not working well in those countries, they are not informed on time when it's time to evacuate. What do they do? When they see the planes in the sky, they use FlightRadar app and see if they identify that it is firefighting plane in the sky, they know that it's time to evacuate. So this feature saved many lives. And it's one of the examples how we contribute also to humanity. It's not only a question about business, B2C, B2B revenue streams, but also contribution to humanity. Natural disasters predictions. They can rely on the weather information that is part of ADSB messages. Also, many non-profitable organizations are using our data because it's like a kind of public data and can predict those natural disasters in non-developed countries. Also, for those radio amateurs, aviation geeks who like to track many different flights and flying patterns, if they see something strange is happening, they signal rescue planes, and sometimes it happened that something happened with the pilot, lost consciousness, but the rescue planes arrived on time and could give instruction to other crew in the plane. So thanks to our website, we managed to rescue some lives. I used to say, because I have 3 children, I used to say that our app is anti-stress app. When my children are traveling, I don't need to bother them, oh, please text me when you landed. I see directly on the app that they have successfully landed, right? Also, FlightRadar app is used in psychology, in therapy, when you have a fear of flying, how you can cope with that. Because then you see, then you build the trust that bad things are not happening, that safety first, and then that the technical solution is reliable. And also, since I also like art, I think it's funny that some people are creating nice art by using special flight plans, how they're flying. Let's go back to money and B2B revenue stream. As I said, all aviation-related companies are using our data for different purposes. Airlines, aircraft manufacturers, organizations who are training pilots, many different are using our application. Even taxi companies are interested in our data. Why? Because by using our data, they can optimize the logistic. When should they send their cars to the airport? If you remember, ADSB message contains weather information. And in fact, we are selling our data to weather forecast companies. Why? Because they don't have weather stations in some strange places, faraway places, where we have our receivers, like Greenland. And furthermore, financial and business analysts are using our data to try to predict economy in the future. How? They're analyzing, for example, different types of planes, especially military planes that are used in the wars or other special situations. And according to that, they can predict how the economy would develop. Maybe it's Horizon 3, but we are just opening a box of new possibilities, how you can use aviation data in many different domains. If we go back to data pyramid, data architecture, now we went through all those layers: data acquisition, data engineering, advanced data processing, data visualization. But data science is still left. We have just started digging in and analyzing the data and identifying many new trends and many new things that we can learn from the aviation data. As Vasco da Gama found the sea path to India, and he didn't believe, or he didn't know that from the beginning, but it opened a lot of new opportunities and possibilities, right? I strongly believe when we start digging more into the aviation data, we will find much more use cases, how we can contribute to businesses, to human beings, but to the humanity in general. So this was the story about FlightRadar24. and how the benefits that we gain from the aviation data are much broader than just aviation industry itself. Thank you.